All right, NASCAR weekend. It's here on the heels of a shit show of a pride parade post party last weekend and an extremely violent weekend in the city of Chicago. It only highlights that these little incremental dips that everybody likes to brag about are irrelevant, sadly, in what feels and actually is going on in this city. It is less safe than it has ever been, and it continues to be that way. The simple solution for far too many people is pick up a gun and fire it and shoot somebody. And those people very seldomly are held accountable. They are given the benefit of the doubt time and time and time again, not only by their families, but by the system, by the courts, by the prosecution team, and everybody else, politicians especially. It needs to stop. We need and we have the ability to take our city back, and it'll go a long way to taking this state back. But on to NASCAR. So I'll let you know that we have an approved permit to protest with our brothers and sisters from the fire department, Local 2, tomorrow. We will be meeting at FOP Lodge at 9:30. Fire and paramedic will be meeting at Local 2. They have buses from there. We will have buses from our lodge to try and get as close to we can. The starting point, which will be kicking off assembly at 10:30, kickoff at 11 o'clock, starting at Roosevelt, Michigan, up Michigan Avenue to Madison, and then back. Why are we protesting this, Mayor and City Hall? Well, as I said, incompetence or anti-union. Either way, the results are the same. It's bad for labor. This administration has negotiated a contract as hard as they possibly could to get it done, right? And then not only force one of the provisions to go to court now because they don't understand labor law or they don't care about it, but also there's been 3 other provisions violated from this current agreement. This is the mayor who says he's pro-union, willingly and intentionally violating provisions within the agreement that he just hammered out. One, we have a 2-day arbitration coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday for the 0.75% healthcare increase that the city forced upon our full membership in violation of the agreement, with skipping a whole step from phase 1 that was in that agreement about what adequate savings was and is in relationship to the health screenings that we conducted and they helped finance. That's a simple, low-hanging fruit one, but they still intentionally did it. That's just what Brandon Johnson clearly does. To hell with the rules. We're going to do whatever we want to do, whenever we want to do it. It's more of the same. Another real easy, low-hanging fruit one. The retirement age from 63 to 65, retroactive, was passed earlier this year and signed into ordinance. There was a few officers who were forced into mandatory retirement in January and even into February before it finally became an ordinance passed. But since then, they have continually knocked off 63-year-old members into retirement and forcing them to reapply to come back on the job. That's not what the ordinance says. That's not what it's supposed to do. And they're adding like little caveats in order to be rehired when you should have never been off the job to begin with the no mandatory retirement until 65, but yet at 63, they can't even get that right and kicking people off. And that's a subject of a class action grievance on behalf of those officers to be able to be put back in their original assignment where they were at when they were 63 years old and on the watch they were on, that they don't have to take a stress test because they wouldn't have to take a stress test. And if they want to start giving physical, tests and exams to our members, let's start with the exempt rank. Because if they have the ability to do this arbitrarily, theoretically speaking, we don't dispute that. But if that's the case, it's going to be age discrimination if they're only doing it for 63-year-old members, as opposed to an exempt staff who have a pretty good number of extremely unfit people. Maybe they should think about implementing a fitness test before promotions go to exempt rank. That'd be a really interesting bar to see how many of them could really meet it. The moniker of this department is, does your appearance command respect? You don't have to look too far to have the answer to that question. Lastly, I'm just going to say this. We're also filing an unfair labor practice against the department, specifically the Chief of Patrol and Management Labor Affairs, but specifically the Chief of Patrol, for dealing behind our back by negotiating terms of employment with a unit. That's not their job. They're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to go through Management Labor Affairs and the Lodge. But they intentionally went to Central Bikes to try and get them to all sign on to 10-hour days behind our back and then implement it in violation of the 10-hour policy that's currently in effect for the pilot program that needs our approval to expand. All I could say is stay tuned. If you are a retired officer, we are imploring you to come and support our active officers. We realize most of them have their day off canceled tomorrow. They'll be working at some point. So attendance from the active officers is going to be very sketchy. We need our retirees to step up and speak up on behalf of the active members who are still doing this job and trying to save this city from becoming Babylon. Firefighters, same for you. If you're a retired firefighter, hell, even if you support your first responders, whether it's police and fire, come out, grab a sign, grab a t-shirt, and march with us. We're out to make a statement tomorrow. We'll see you out there.